Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. Today, we're putting on our hard hats to engineer our way out of high-load system failures. If you've ever built a decentralized app on Solana that runs absolutely flawlessly on your laptop, but then completely bursts into flames like a cheap toaster the second real users show up, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today's explainer is all about handling high-load scenarios and gracefully surviving that massive surge of traffic.
So here's our engineering blueprint for today. We'll start with the high-load mystery, move on to diagnosing system failure modes, check out the token bucket throttle and exponential backoff strategy, and then wrap up with writing your debug report and designing graceful degradation for the user experience. Let's just dive right in.
Section 1, the high-load mystery, where we'll be investigating system stress. Let's roll out those blueprints on the drafting table and figure out what actually happens when a system is put under immense pressure.
Okay, so think back to our previous lesson on assertions and test coverage. We built what we thought was a mathematically perfect, well-tested app, right? We verified our logic, wrote our assertions, and we felt pretty invincible. But here's the mystery. When we turn that client concurrency dial up to simulate real-world traffic, the throughput just completely flatlines. The application literally starts hyperventilating, even though our code is totally flawless. So why? Well, it's because we aren't just lacking compute power, we're slamming headfirst into contention limits.
And that brings us to a really crucial metric, tail latency. Basically, this is the time it takes for the absolute slowest request to complete. When your system hits its queuing limits, tail latency goes completely off the charts. It's a classic operational distress signal. So your average throughput might actually look fine on paper, but a massive spike in tail latency? That means your transactions are just sitting there in a digital waiting room indefinitely.
Moving on to Section 2, diagnosing system failure modes and identifying the bottleneck. Look, we don't just panic and unplug things when the structural pipes start groaning under pressure. As elite architects, we need to diagnose the specific failure modes.
If we sketch out the system architecture, we usually see one of three primary blockages. It's kind of like 500 people trying to shove their way through a single tiny door all at the exact same time. First, we have RPC rate limiting, where the node just straight up refuses to take more requests. Second, there's transaction queue buildup, where things are accepted but they're just sitting around indefinitely. And third, we have account locking contention.
Now, this requires a massive mindset shift for us. It is absolutely crucial to stop pointing to, vague performance issues. That's a kind of excuse that makes developers just blindly throw more server RAM at a problem hoping it magically goes away. Instead, you've got to identify specific failure modes. So if you're seeing repeated transient RPC errors or block hash not found messages, those aren't just bad luck. Those are specific, highly fixable diagnostic signal.
Let's look at account locking contention as an example. This is a program-level blockage, and it's caused by frequent writes to the exact same account simultaneously. It's a fundamental architectural bottleneck. Imagine every single user trying to write their name on the exact same line of the exact same piece of paper at the exact same millisecond. No amount of pure computing power fixes that. You actually have to fix the architecture itself.
All right, Section 3, the token bucket throttle, controlling the flow. Now that we know exactly what's breaking, let's explore our first mitigation tool. This is an absolute lifesaver for client-side traffic management.
I want you to think of the token bucket throttle as a highly efficient, incredibly strict bouncer at the door of an exclusive club. This client-side gate ensures that only a safe, predefined maximum number of transactions per second are actually allowed to pass through to your RPC node. It completely stabilizes the load by holding back the excess, making sure the server never gets overwhelmed by a sudden stampede of traffic.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, exponential backoff strategy, or as I like to call it, the art of waiting politely. Because that throttle raises a very practical question. What happens to all those transactions waiting outside the club when they inevitably get an error or are told to wait? Well, we use a strategy called exponential backoff. It's basically like politely waiting twice as long between each phone call to a super busy restaurant so you don't annoy the host. If your first attempt fails, you wait, say, 50 milliseconds. Second attempt fails, you wait 100, then 200, then 400. You exponentially increase the delay, and this gives the overloaded system the breathing room it desperately needs to clear its backlog. Because think about it, if you just spam the server immediately upon failure, which honestly is what a lot of default client setups do, you create what we call a retry storm. It is the exact equivalent of an angry toddler mashing a broken elevator button 100 times, hoping it magically arrives faster.
It actively causes system crashes. Exponential backoff, on the other hand, stabilizes those bursts, reduces the noise, and actually lets your system recover. Section 5. Writing your debug report and documenting the engineering fix. As any good engineer knows, no job is really complete without the paperwork. We've investigated, we've mitigated, and now we have to document it.
So your debug report must follow this exact 4-step methodology. Step 1, you absolutely have to be able to reproduce the baseline error in a test environment. Step 2, accurately measure the tail latency and the error rate so you have cold, hard data. Step 3, apply your mitigation, like that token bucket throttle and exponential backoff we just talked about. And finally, step 4, document your root cause hypothesis by mapping those specific symptoms directly to your concrete remediation steps. By comparing your baseline numbers against your mitigated run in a clean table, you prove with hard data that your interventions actually worked. I mean, just look at the drop here. At a concurrency of 100, we dropped from 45 errors down to 10. And at 500, we went from 250 errors all the way down to just 40. This is the undeniable proof you bring to your engineering team to justify your architectural changes. And as a golden rule of thumb here, to consider your mitigation a verifiable success in this specific test, we generally want to see at least a 30% reduction in error rates while maintaining the exact same concurrency level. If you aren't hitting that 30% mark, well, you either need a more aggressive throttle or your bottleneck is actually sitting deeper at the program level, which is going to require a totally different structural fix.
And finally, Section 6, Graceful Degradation for UX. We're designing for failure. We need to take all this hard operational data and connect it directly to the end-user experience.
The ultimate philosophy here is really simple. Reducing non-essential features under load preserves core functionality. If your server is under heavy load, it shouldn't just explode. It should gracefully degrade. It's kind of like throwing your heavy living room furniture overboard to save a sinking ship. We pause the live updating price ticker, maybe we stop loading high-res profile pictures, and we shed that extra weight so the core transaction engine actually survives.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this pivotal question. Which operations in your dApp will be denied, queued, or presented as degraded under heavy load to save your core app? Thinking deeply about this question sets us up perfectly for our next lesson, where we'll bridge these operational realities straight into advanced UX design. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Remember to visit forge.college to master even more Web3 engineering topics. Keep building and keep learning.